Over the past few years, I've been collecting retro video games. A lot of these video games come from my childhood and were important to me, and a lot of these games I never played and want to get a second chance to. I built my collection through buying, selling off extras, and even trading when possible. I've even gained a few new friendships through collecting. A couple of these friendships have carved a new path recently I never really considered before. This path is partially inspired also by a large YouTuber, but I'll mention that later. I've gotten good deals and given others good deals. I've made a practice in all aspects of my life to love others as I love myself.
You've heard of the golden rule, haven't you? Whoever has the gold makes the rules.
Relationships are really what drive me. It makes sense I would build relationships with the people in the retro gaming community also. But let's talk about the new path. It hasn't changed how I've been collecting, but it really is just a new path to explore a different area of collecting. It all starts with the purchase of a few trades, so let's talk about those first. I had one of my new friends, Carlos, reach out to me with a deal. And honestly, it was something I never really considered before, but it was the right time and a few of the right influences, so I decided to try to jump on it. This item that he had is something that wasn't necessarily on my radar, like I mentioned. I did remember a video from my retro life about this system. I never played Sega consoles in the 90s, so Sega games were really an unexplored area for me. In addition to the inspiration of my retro life, I just purchased these 7 Genesis games on eBay for $25 shipped to me. The seller also gave me this free controller, which was super nice. You better believe I did give him a good review on eBay.
Nice.
I'd worked out a deal with Carlos, but unfortunately, it seemed like I was getting too much of a good deal from Carlos and I wasn't comfortable with it. He is a super nice guy and I felt like I was going to be taking advantage of him. But I did know that he was looking for a Nintendo top loader. Another friend that I've been working with a lot that I got my top loader from a few weeks ago, I knew he also had an additional one. I got in touch with him and worked a deal. But after that, I remembered I might have something he may be interested in. A red dot scope I'd bought several years ago and never really used. If you know the brand, then you know it does have value. I offered it to my top loader friend for trade for the top loader and these extras I knew he had. These games are bangers. Shatterhand is currently priced at $75. Turtles in Time, Contra 3, Mega Man X, they're huge additions to my SNES collection. Of course, I had to get that Pokemon Stadium. The top loader didn't come with cords, but I did have some for it already. Next part of this deal was to plug in the top loader and make sure it works with the cords that I had. I did some testing of the top loader to make sure it worked with my cords. My cord situation is horrendous and on my list to redo. Haven't got around to it, but hopefully will soon. These are the games I traded in addition to the top loader to get what I've been leading up to. But first, Grandia 2 is on my top 5's game list. If you've never played it, give it a try. So the big question is, what did I get? So here is the main part of what I got. A Sega CD Model 2. It also came with Sega Genesis Model 2 with a plate on the bottom. So all it does is slide in, just as easy as that, and you're good to go. Have the cords with it, and also have 4 games. The Sega CD has a bit of drama attached to it. Not only the inner workings between Sega in Japan and Sega of America when this product was being developed, also legal issues of the violence in some games. Another fun fact is the FMV or full motion video ability of the Sega CD. This means the cutscenes could be recorded and played at points in the game instead of the cutscenes needing to be acted out in the software to run in visual in real time. Sega CD also had a hefty price on its release date of $300, and this was back in 1992. It also only had 2 games on release, which those 2 factors you would think probably didn't go too well for it. The Model 2 was released later with a price tag of $230. It had cheaper components. As you can see, one of the main differences is not having a disc tray, which was one of those factors, and it made it more affordable for people to get. Along with the Sega CD and the Sega Genesis, Carlos also gave me Joe Montana's football, as well as Sewer Shark for the Sega CD. He also gave me, and I wasn't expecting these, the 2 Genesis games, Sonic the Hedgehog as well as Cyberball. With my eBay purchase I mentioned earlier, along with these 2 games, I have a solid Genesis collection already started. With that are the 3 Sonic the Hedgehog games, 1, 2, and 3, so excited to give those a play after many, many years. And this brings me back to my Retro Life YouTube channel. He had a video about 10 games my dad hated, and this Sewer Shark was one of them. A little bit strange, but it actually made me want to play it and give the Sega CD a try after I watched that. Really, like I said, it's an unexplored console for me, and I'm super excited to get into some of these old games and see if they lived up to their hype, either good or bad. And this brings me to the path that I mentioned. Now this path is specific to the Sega CD. I'm not impacting kind of the other ways I collect, but Sega CD might be something special for me. My collecting now has been sourcing games from all kinds of places to get a good deal. With Sega CD, I really want to find games only in the wild. The ultimate nostalgia for video game purchases is going to the video game stores on weekends or after work, looking through them and randomly picking out one in hopes that it's a good game. This is my plan for collecting the Sega CD. I really want to go and be in person when I buy these games, either from somebody or from a store. eBay is very impersonal, and that's what I'm trying to get away from. I'm in no rush after all. In fact, the longer it takes and the more time I have to play the games in between. With the current consoles becoming more and more impersonal with digital downloads, I hope Sega CD brings me back to a time when interaction was a mandatory part of video game buying. A time when video games brought people together in a meaningful way. The Sega CD has reminded me why I began collecting retro games in the first place. To enjoy a time that's past, not only for that time, but also enjoy it with the people around me in the current.